Good morning, everyone. This is Kathleen, and I'm happy to be here this morning. I'm going to share the how do you dye with Distress Inks, and I don't know how this is going to go because this process is always so random, honestly. You just don't ever know how it's going to turn out. And there are other artists that are better at this than I am. So I will admit that right off the top and encourage you to go look, for someone like Tim Holtz, who does this really well. But nevertheless, you've asked me to do this, and so I'm happy to and just kind of show you how I do it and why I like it. So let me just talk for a second about just a couple of things. So with the paper, that's a big part of how this process works, and you'll just need to do some experimenting, with the papers that you like to use and how the media turns out. But there's a difference between thin and thick paper. Obviously, if it's thick paper, you're not going to get bleed through to the other side. If it's thin, you will. And so you need to be happy with that from the beginning, understand that that's going to happen. So then there is paper that has what's called a tooth, some texture, and paper that could be buffered with some kind of sizing on it. And sometimes you don't know, particularly those of us who are maybe a little more unsophisticated when it comes to paper. You just kind of learn, how the paper acts, the paper that you like to use, how it acts with this ink. So I've got a couple of examples here, and we'll just show you as we go through the process. So what you need is the paper that you want to use. You need the inks. We're going to do some green today. And then you need some trays that will, hold it to dry. So I have some cookie sheets over here to the side that we'll put the wet paper on once we dye it. Okay, so we'll just move the paper to the side. We'll get the inks ready. And the first thing you need to do is, see, I can feel a little bit of glue on there. So the first thing you need to do is clean your surface. And I have this really lovely tonic mat now. It's glass, and I have wanted this ever since I started dyeing paper this way. I used to use a picture frame, empty glass picture frame, and then I broke a couple, which was not good because you end up pressing down. And so then I would pat it on the back, and that worked for quite a long time until I got this mat. But you can see that, it collects things like little pieces of glue. And so you need to feel it and make sure that you get scrape up any bits of glue, because that's going to create a bump in your paint. And if you like that kind of thing, go for it. If you don't, then you might want to clean your mat. Okay, the only other thing you're going to need is a spray bottle of water. And I have to admit that my spray bottle is now old and kind of quirky. It doesn't always work, but we'll hope that it works today. All right, so let's begin with this peeled paint. So what I do is I just smush, and this happens to be ink, right? We've got two different things going, the ink and the oxide. So we're going to do ink first. So you just smush it onto the glass and then spray it with some water, and then give it a half a second to begin to work. And then I kind of just take my finger and do that so that I don't end up making squares on the paper. And then let's just take a plain, this is just plain copy paper, okay? It's 20 pound, and then you just lay it down on there. Go like that, bring it over, do the back side. That's kind of dark, so sometimes I'll spray it some more, let it run. All right. And you just keep kind of picking it up in the corners, wherever you want. Okay. Now that piece has one shade on it. So I'm going to put this over here for now. And you might want to have some cleaning cloths available to pick up whatever that was. Now, and now we're going to put down another green. Let's do, this is Oxide now, which is a little different. It's kind of similar in color, but just a little bit darker. I'm going to spray it again. Just kind of spread it out a little. I'm going to take another piece of paper. And if you don't want to put it all the way down, you don't need to. You can just kind of do that kind of thing. It ends up drying out pretty fast, so you can spray it again and keep working. With the oxides, the subtle undercolor comes out. Like this forest moss has a lot of yellow in the green, and that's going to come out more in the oxides than it does in the inks. Okay, so let me take just kind of a different color now, and it doesn't matter that the mat is already damp. It's not going to hurt the ink. So you can begin to layer colors, and you know, technically you're supposed to dry it between, and you know, you can do that. Just experiment. It's a lot of fun just to see, you know, how things turn out. So next to that green, that forest moss looks really yellow, and that's okay because yellow is good for this project. A little bit of greenish yellow. Okay, now let me put some of this green. This is mowed lawn. We're just going to put just a little bit of that. So this is the way I do it. I just kind of keep adding tones, and paper is going to go in my next project, which is going to be called Garden Party. It's going to be kind of a Victorian garden theme. Isn't that pretty? I like the way that's looking. So for now, we're going to put that one over here to dry. Now let me show you what happens when this is like composition. Here, let me clean this off. This is a composition notebook paper, just, you know, the cheap from Walmart or the dollar store. I have it cut down to size. And let's do a little bit of this fossilized amber, which is yellow, and some of this bundled sage, which is a light green. And so what's going to happen when I do this composition notebook is it's going to run. The lines are going to run. And it's very thin paper, so I'm going to get some bleed through. And that's okay with me. And obviously the more water you put on, the more that's going to happen. And sometimes you have to wait until the paper dries, really, before you even see what's going on. Now you can see why I try to smush the paint like that. It's so that I don't get these clumps of paint, which I don't like quite as much, but sometimes it's just hard to avoid, and you don't know. This is what I'm talking about. The paint, the line, the inks on the lines are gonna start to run, and that's okay. Since this paper has this red line in it, I'm going to get a pink, I think. And this is the way I store my inks, by the way, just in this plastic shoebox. It's not the best, but it's what I have. And we'll use this aged mahogany, okay? And that's going to put just a little bit of floral pink in there. It's got some brown underneath as well. Okay, so if I put this paper down on that, I'm going to get that square shape, and I don't want that. So I just try to kind of mix it in, and then I'm going to bring it over here and put it kind of down in the corner. And that's just going to give me some floral-ish notes. Okay, that's all it is. Honestly, there's no technique to it, really. It's just, you just have to try to see, you know, how it works. Okay, now get ready for some noise, because I'm going to dry this a little bit. I apologize, but I don't have an editing video, so one of these days I'll figure that out. So you have to be kind of careful, because the paper is very fragile when it's wet. So as you move it around, you need to be careful. Okay, so now you can see how those lines are running and fading. And later, if I want, I can come in and stamp some flowers or draw some flowers in there, and that just gives a little bit of impressionistic color, right, to the paper. Okay, so let me put that over here, and that'll continue to dry. And so the paper that I most often dye is the back of whatever designer paper, scrapbook paper that I'm using. And so I've got this pretty pink, and I want to put Oh, there's some left over there, some pink. I want to do green on the back, so I think I'm going to use this peeled paint again, which is the ink. And I think I'll put just a little bit of that and some bundled sage as well. I just want to get rid of that square shape. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay, if that's all I want, then that's good, and I can just bring that over and then use what's left on the glass to just pick up some of what's left. You can kind of keep spraying and keep picking it up. So this just has a little bit on it, which is fine. And I think that I'll put down some more pink for the back of this page, and it's going to probably bleed through to the front. Sometimes you don't always see the bleed through until it's completely dry. So what this hand dyeing does is it takes something that is like this stationery that is, you know, ubiquitous, just common, and it makes it more uncommon, and it makes it so that it's, you know, it's yours. And so that your project is different and unique from everybody else. Let's put a little bit of this yellowish mossy color. Oh my gosh. I think it's getting close to time for me to eat something. I always have to be determined to try to hit the corners. My corners are often white. All right, so there's that, and we can put that over here. And let me show you again how much this is going to. You can see there's a drop of water that's going to make this is some graph paper. And I think let's try that. And let's try this bright green. It's going to make that mix with the blue and be kind of pretty, I think. All right. Sometimes if you drag it, then it creates a different kind of a look. Oh, sorry for that noise. I need to figure out how to turn off notifications on this phone. It's a different phone and I don't know. Okay, so then I can actually put some water down and make those lines move. I think that I will put some of the pink on this one as well, just in spots. A little bit of a touch here and there. Yeah, I like that. Sometimes I don't like it. So you either do something else, some other kind of mixed media on top of it, or throw it away. But I like the way that turned out. Anyway, so you just keep going, you use all kinds of paper and you just keep going and you put it over there to dry. I think it is better when it air dries. I don't often dry it in the oven, but because it'll dry, and I usually just do this in a big batch and then just let it dry for all afternoon or overnight. And so that's the process that I use. I hope that's helpful, and I'll just stop now and go on and finish what I'm doing. Thanks for watching.